All right, we are back with no break there. Sorry about that, everybody. We got too excited talking about websites, but now we're on to the next step. Let's give everybody a second to come in here, and I'll run through all my house cleaning, and I'll go faster this time so we have more time for our presenters. Bottom of your screen is a chat. If you want to ask, if you have trouble or you want to talk, comment or questions or talk with each other, go ahead and put that in the chat. If you have a question specific to Marc's presentation, please put in the Q&A and we'll have a conversation at the end for a couple minutes and try not to run over again. Other than that, Steve, I'll let you do your housekeeping part.
Perfect. Don't forget to do what am I trying to say? The speaker review for Glenn's for the last one, Mark's at the end. The one thing I would actually note about two other things on the chat. It defaults when you come up to talking to the hosts and panelists. You actually need to change where it says to everybody. Yes. I think that actually Dave, you and we as customers should go to be pushing on Zoom to fix that, because I think that it shouldn't be that way, but that we don't have any control to make that default different. The second thing is for the person who initiates the most chats for each day, $100 Amazon gift certificate. They've obviously got to be good chats and not dumb chats like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and with that, what's that?
Well, I said, but that way, to kick it off, let us know where you're watching from in the chat. I'm going to pop in Missouri again, but I'm definitely traveling. So if I misspelled Missouri, I apologize. So we'll go back to Lola's typos. But no, I'm in Missouri today. Let me know where you're watching from. Leanne is in her office. All right. So, and then Steve, your contest for the chat. Sorry, I interrupted the.
Yeah, so for contest for the chat, the most chats, we are Amazon card for each $100 for each day. We'll just send that out to your email so you can go out and spend it to your heart's content. I know $100 today isn't what it once was, but it ain't nothing either. So with that, Mark, we're going to let you introduce yourself and take it away.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, my name is Marc Cherabie. I'm the director of sales here at a wonderful company called SiteStaff Chat, and super happy to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. What I wanted to focus and talk about today is, really a way to offset your staffing needs and increase your census both together. So I'm super happy that Glenn had gone before me and some wonderful presenters as well, because I think it falls in line with exactly the way in which I wanted this presentation to go. And really just focusing on not just live chat as a wonderful tool and a wonderful service that I feel like is a necessity, across the board, specifically in this industry, but how it could really help work for you and help out alleviate a lot of those staffing challenges, not just by allowing you to have access to more wonderful employees and people to work at your community, but how it could help take a lot of that work and that time off of the community members that you currently do have. So we'll definitely, get right to it. Our company, just to give you a little bit of background, we're a SaaS company. We started back in 2012. I like to consider ourselves like an EASS company, EASS, more of an experience as a service rather than a software, because we really tailor what we do and how we help our communities from the experience side online. And we obviously provide 24/7 fully live managed chat services. And we've been doing it specifically for this industry since our inception. We really found that senior living is such a unique overall buying journey, right? It's something that requires a lot of education, requires a lot of empathy, emotion. It's a life-changing decision. It's one of the biggest decisions that people and their families will make, specifically, here in this country. So, just really being able to shed a lot of light on that and talk about the experience factor on it. So, lots of different things that we help with, aside from just lead generation, which is always important, right? You always want to make sure that your census is up to par. But with the staffing crisis that we're all dealing with, especially here in senior living, it's a trickle-down effect of a lot more challenges, right? A lot more people are wearing multiple hats. It could affect the overall experience. It could affect the overall reputation. It can even increase a lot of risks for a lot of the seniors and their families that are currently at the communities. And so ways in which a live chat, a fully live managed live chat company like ourselves can do, specifically on the website side, is really help alleviate a lot of those challenges. So one thing that I really like that Glenn had spoken about in the previous session was, talking about how, the way that the website looks, the way that the feel of the website is obviously extremely important. You want it to really fall in line with your culture, your protocols, the way that you go about doing your business, and really trying to paint that picture of what life at your community is like. But in a lot of different ways, what I feel like a lot of senior living operators are failing to do is have their website work for them. So meaning it's not really just about such an influx of leads and trying to get as many leads as possible coming into your community, but really targeting that even more and talking a lot more about how, we want these leads to be qualified as possible. We talked about all of the different ways that marketing companies can really bring in those targeted leads, the right people, or as much of the right people as possible into your sales funnel. And so once they're on the website, what a live chat tool can do is really bring that in even further and further target those, so that the salespeople at the community are really being set up for success as much as possible. So what I'd like to see a little bit of everybody's opinion here on this chat, in the chat here, about, what does online experience mean to you? What's really important to you when you go on your website, or what you hope that your residents or their family members experience when they go on to your website? Because for us, it's, about when somebody's on, a buying journey, they come onto the website, they're really obviously curious. And many times, just like you had seen in the numbers that Evan from Rubric had shown, is many of them are just curious, right? So where they're at in the sales funnel is very, very important. And a lot of the content and a lot of the experience that they get on that website can really help bring them further along through that process in a much more streamlined and efficient manner. So love to hear you guys' thoughts on, what online experience mean, and what metrics about being online. What do you need? What kind of a checklist, or what do you look for when you go online to make sure that you're getting the answers and the help that you need? So one thing that live chat does that can really help have your website do and work for you is allows for you to have bring the human component to what we call an otherwise very robotic process. You have somebody there 24/7, 365 that can help answer your questions at all hours of the day. And we know in senior living, the questions, it's not just about, I have questions about pricing, or I have questions about the different amenities. It's really about making that lifestyle change. It's that educational piece that's so important in the industry to make sure that these people are getting they're getting the answers to. And so by having a live person there, it's very similar and falls directly in line with having somebody there at the community level itself. If a potential resident picks up the phone and calls, and they're greeted with an automated system, or they're not greeted at all, maybe somebody's not available, already you've set up yourself for failure, and they're just going to continue moving on through their buying journey process. But what a lot of senior living communities really fail to acknowledge is that's happening on the website by the thousands every single day. And they're not being treated with the same respect. They're not being treated with the same sense of urgency as they would be if they were to physically walk into the community or pick up the phone and dial. So that's one thing that I really wanted to shed the light on today is how a live chat solution can really not only enhance that customer experience, give them the questions that they want, offer that peace of mind for the potential future resident, right? A lot of them it's not just necessarily that they're looking for a different place to live. I mean, they're looking for an entire new lifestyle. The senior living communities, I like to say, they don't really compete with the other senior living community down the road, but they really compete with the potential resident's home. So what makes them feel comfortable? And what's really important when looking at the right solution, it's the same thing. It falls right in line with hiring the right person for your community. You want to hire somebody that has that natural ability to show empathy, that obviously understands the process and can really show that they care. If you have the wrong employee or the wrong community sales directors there at your community, then it can cause a lot of challenges and really do the opposite. That's the same kind of thing I really want for all of you guys to keep in mind as we go through this presentation, is making sure that it's the right solution. So I'll take a pause on that. And I'll just look a little bit through the chat here. It looks like Linda had said accurate and honest information, easy to access, and the ease of navigating. Totally 100% agree. I think, navigating through different pages and weeding through text can be very challenging. So having that ease of navigation is huge. And then David talked about, I'm looking to have my questions answered as seamlessly as possible. There you are, Dave, again with the typo. So I'm right there with you, man. I definitely understand that. And Jennifer said, knowledgeable staff that can answer my questions. So these are all wonderful points. So taking it one by one, you talk about accurate and honest information. The ease of access and the ease of navigating is so important. And what's an easier way to get access to questions, to get the knowledge, to get all the different array of questions that you're being asked than a live human being, a person that really is an extension of your sales team, an extension of your sales culture that works for you at all hours of the day to be able to ensure that the questions are answered. And as you all know, the questions that are being asked in senior living can vary in a multitude of ways. They can be so in depth, they can be very difficult. Lots of questions that you might not necessarily be able to just find based off of the website. A lot of different examples that we see on our end, obviously it could be related to pet policy. It could be related to amenities. It could be related to, do you offer certain types of care for very specific medical conditions that people might suffer through. So having somebody there that's willing to greet them there at their highest peak of interest, put their mind at ease, and really ensure that they're getting the questions that they need answered is extremely useful. But further, to really buckle that down, having somebody that works for you there can really further qualify these individuals and these leads for you. So I know, being on the sales side for my company, nothing is more frustrating than getting a whole bunch of leads, name, phone number, emails, and calling them and realizing that these people might not be a good fit, or I just can't really get a contact with them. It could really drive down the team morale there at the community, and it can really just lead to an unnecessary trickle down of negativity. Whereas if you're setting your team up for success and being able to ensure that these leads that are being sent, that are being funneled through the website that you're spending so much time and money and effort into putting together and driving the leads to, if you can make it work better for you, now you have happier salespeople, people that are more confident. The morale of the salesperson is up, but also you're setting them up for success as a whole, and you're taking a lot of unnecessary work off of their plates, right? Work that they could definitely use less of as they go through their day-to-day, since the shortage in staffing is really hindering them so much. So what we see and some metrics that I think is really important for you guys to look at once you go back to your teams and you discuss when you're looking at the conversion rates, or what percentage are these leads converting from the initial stage of just being a lead all the way up until they actually become residents, is super important. One thing that we see on our end is about 8 to 13% of all the leads that we send to our clients will result into a move-in. And that's a really high success rate. And typically with other, with whether it be fill forms or other, lead generation automated services that are on the website, it's closer to about 1 to 2%. And they might be generating a lot more leads with less results. So that all that really ends up happening and resulting in is just more work and less results. And that's not the ideal way to do it, right? I think the best way that you want to do it is make sure that all of your processes are as streamlined as possible, so that everybody can work efficient and you can make up for a lot of that lost time that you currently have, with the shortage of staff and all of that stuff there as well. And speaking of a live chat, what a lot of people don't understand that could be a really helpful tool with having a live chat and deployed onto careers pages is the ability to really help, with that aspect too. So I see, and I've talked to a lot of different operators, I've talked to a lot of different people regarding their methodologies for hiring and employment and getting more people into their website. And they have wonderful ways of doing it. But even from then, sometimes it could be such an influx of unqualified candidates, or it can be maybe a confusing process for the visitor to be able to properly follow. So even having a live chat representative on those pages to be able to ask those questions, properly qualify them, ensure that, we're going through that checklist of, tell me a little bit about your background. We're looking for somebody that's specialized in this industry or is certified in dementia care, or might have X amount of numbers of years of experience when it comes to, maybe if you're looking for different nurses or people in the medical field there. So we can really tailor that down and ensure that it's a win-win for everybody, right? We always talk about win-win situations. They're setting up the right expectations for the community, as well as the person that might be looking to move in or looking to be employed there. Another really big challenge that the industry faces, so staffing is without a doubt number one. Number two is census, right? Just getting the heads in beds. And those two go together so much. I can't even explain that to you. I think that we don't really have to discuss how they're interrelated, but if you have less staff, then you have to start cutting corners. You're not going to be able to follow up with leads properly. You're really leaving out a lot of untapped revenue and untapped potential out there. And you're also not able to necessarily provide the best experience or the premier experience to your current staff and your current residents. And maybe you have to start putting a little bit more focus on other responsibilities and challenges that you might have there within your community. So a live chat representative online can really alleviate a lot of those challenges, save you a lot of that time, and help make sure that you're not spending so much time trying to chase down these residents and find out more information. Rather, you are spending more time setting up these tours, getting them into the doors, and working your magic in that sense. And on average, what we see across the board in senior living is that a live chat, a lead that comes through live chat, our live chat specifically, cuts down the speed to lead process in half. So on average, it's about 180 days that a resident might move in. We see it closer to 90. So it's increasing your efficiency. It's getting those heads in beds faster. It's providing these website visitors with a maximum amount of resources that are necessary there. Let me just see, we'll go through the chat here a little bit more, see if there's anything else that popped up or if there's any questions. Perfect, Steve, I love that you said, it's not just being pushed to give a person information. So when we think about why somebody's on the website, or why such a large percent of the website visitors are coming to the site and leaving without us knowing, it's for an array of different reasons that we see. Number one is I think a lot of people are worried that they might get inundated with a lot of marketing material, right? I know for me, if I'm ever shopping for like car insurance or new home insurance or whatever it might be, I put my information into one of those fill forms, my phone does not stop ringing. And my inbox does not stop getting filled with a bunch of different advertisements of people trying to get my business. So it's the same kind of hesitancy that the user will experience there online. We see that a lot. And so by having a live chat representative there, it allows for them access in kind of an anonymous way, a private approach that they can move at their own pace. And by employing the right chat hosts, the people that are experienced in the industry and that can really serve as an extension of your community, they could be there to really put them at ease, give them that peace of mind, and make them understand that you might not think that you have the resources or you have the ability to afford this care or make this move, but you can set up the proper expectations, all while really answering those questions and being very knowledgeable. So now the result is you have somebody that's stopped the buying journey. They're committed to coming in and learning more about your community, and you're really setting up everybody for success. So you talk about a win-win scenario. We always say win-win-win here. So it's a win for the resident, it's a win for the residents' families, and it's obviously a win for the community as well. And there's also a ton of value in disqualifying some of those leads, maybe letting a lot of those web visitors know that this might not be the best fit because of A, B, C, and D, or that might be something that the family might have, or the web visitor itself might come to the conclusion. And that's fine too, because the way that I look at it is like, that's just less work and less off of your plate, and we can still manage and move them on and give them the proper resources that they need to be successful moving forward. And So yeah, we talked about staffing being the number one challenge, census being number two. The speed to lead aspect is number three for the time frame, and then online experience or lack thereof are the top four challenges that we've seen within this industry that that are currently being talked about the most based off of a lot of the research. Is there any other challenges, or if you guys have any other challenges or anything that you want to discuss or throw in the chat, we'd love to know, just to be just for our educational knowledge purposes, and I think really continue the conversation offline. We'd love to know kind of what else you seem to be going through that will be that's a challenge, or maybe something that you deal with every single day. So I think my time's up. I'd love to spend the last few couple minutes answering any kind of questions or seeing what else we can help with.
Yeah, no, Mark, thank you. I just wanted to jump in with, I think some people get it twisted a little bit sometimes when we, on the digital side, we talk about digital conversions, but we're also trying to push those to phone calls, because statistically, as you said, phone calls, that human to human connection converts better. And so kind of blurring that with, marketing is not a passive conversation anymore, wanting that kind of concierge or hospitality experience as you're taken through the process. We want to, even in digital, we want to drive phone calls. And so I just think it's a good compliment. Again, it's another tool to arm your website to give people that personalized experience that they need and want. And if you already have a live person on the phone, that is, I fully believe that's going to raise your conversion rates. So I think that's an incredible thing to just get them right to that and have those real human to human conversations right away. So.
Yeah, I just think that you've got to have multiple vehicles to meet different people's personality needs. So as a consumer of content, I'd much rather read something or listen to an audiobook or a podcast than I would watch a video. But that's not true for most people, right? And so you say, well, live chat doesn't really make any difference. Not most people are coming through there. But what if there are people who are coming through that's their preferred way? What that really means is they're going to go someplace else where they can get their needs met the way they want them met. And I mean, I think that's perhaps one of the biggest changes that we see in the whole world of consuming just about everything, is because everybody's sort of offering me multiple platforms, I'm going to pick the one that works best for me. And so I think that this is really, really a powerful thing. And I think that the trick with chat is that it's just got to be friendly, and live chat is what makes it a ton better. I mean, I promise you, every one of us here has gone into a chat box saying, oh, I've got this quick question, I'm going to use this chat bot. And you go into there, or you use this, or it's a messaging, and you think you're going to get a live person, and it just turns out to be stupid answers, or give us your email and we'll get back to you in 2 hours. And I mean, you can't necessarily staff 24/7. Maybe you can. And so it's just about helping people figure this stuff out.
And I think to Glenn's point too, that melds in well, is that you do your research on your personas and find out how many of your seniors in your community that ended up working out for you prefer to talk to a live person versus reading or whatever it is. So do that research. And it's not that, live chat's the only solution, but it's one. You should be employing many solutions. You should be employing as many solutions as your audience needs. So, and this is definitely a strong one though, because again, that live phone call is the best conversion rate. So.
Absolutely. And it's the best conversion rate, right? Because you're not only do you have that human interaction, but you're able to really get all of your questions answered. We always talk about, understanding the difference between a lead and a qualified lead. That's the biggest thing that I feel like a lot of operators really need to start asking themselves is, if I came up to you, Dave, if I've never met you in my life, I just handed you my business card and I left, you don't know anything about me besides how to gain contact, right? So we never view that as a qualified lead. We'd rather provide 100 leads that are qualified rather than 1,000 leads that are not. And so, things that we look at for the qualified side is obviously contact information, but understanding their level of care, understanding, are they financially qualified? What's important to them in this journey? That could be huge. What are their interests? What are their hobbies? And is the prospect a good fit? And if you have all that information, now on the community side, you have somebody that can reach out and say, I know this person's a huge, Broncos fan. They can tailor their approach to that. I know that what's the most important for them is the food tasty, so we can make sure that we emphasize that. So it's really talking about not just delivering that wonderful experience to the resident online, but as they come in and make that transition to coming in and seeing the community, now the community is armed with being able to really, tailor their approach and enhance that experience that we always talk about, for sure.
Nope,
So
100%.
Mark, I want to throw, and I'm Dave, I want to throw this question to both of you, right? So I think the qualified leads is really, really important, but I've had way too many times where I've reached out to a senior living community. Either I was doing not really a true mystery shopping, or I was trying to get information for a friend of mine, and somebody decided real early on that I wasn't a qualified lead. And they got rid of me, and they didn't give me the information I want. And all it did was just annoy me. And I worry that we are so focused on this qualified lead, because maybe I'm not a qualified lead, but when maybe I've got 10 people who are qualified leads that I can influence. And so how do you balance that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think for us, we always talk about, we work for our communities, right? So we're never going to disqualify them and say, you're not qualified, sorry, we can't help you.
Yeah.
If they give that information, they still want more, we'll still pass that along and be able to have the sales team at the communities be able to work it. We never want to, not give them that opportunity. But the most important thing is if you can capture as much of that information as possible, as we pass it along to the CSDs, and they look at it and they analyze it and they get all that information before the reach out, that'll give them a good idea of, the approach to take as they go in. So it's never gonna be, but we never want it to be like, oh, they might not be qualified, just ignore them. But it's about setting up the right expectations, or even with the visitor of saying, this might not be the best fit because of this, or I understand that you're looking for Medicare, Medicaid. This is a private pay community. However, there are a lot of resources that the community can help you with to be able to make this work for you. But just setting up those expectations, right? You never want to overpromise and underdeliver. You want to do the opposite. So it's really about setting up the proper expectations and letting them know that there is a possibility it might not be a fit for you. However, you're not alone in this process. You are going to get the help that you need and be driven in the right direction as possible. So yeah, it's definitely a great point that you make, Steve. But you definitely don't want to just disqualify somebody, but really as much information that you can provide, the better.
Yeah, and I don't know, Steve, like what got you bounced from the process, but I would say that people, if they're communicating with you, then you need to keep that communication going. I understand the need for prioritization. This person is a better fit or more urgent, but so maybe we have to prioritize our time. But I think as long as someone is communicating with you, then you should be communicating back. And if you get to that point and, Mark vets them out is not a good fit, is there any, I may be about to say something controversial here, but when we're talking about quality over quantity and who's a really good fit, if you knew that the community across town was a better fit and they just weren't going to work out for you, wouldn't you refer them? Isn't that serving the senior best? And likewise, would they refer back to you? So I would start building those relationships of like the mismatch. It's like, hey, because you were ultimately giving them a service by sending them in the right direction. If they're truly not going to work out for you, that would be my final touch point.
Well, yeah, the last thing I'd add to that, Dave, is that somebody, I think I know who did it, but somebody posted on LinkedIn last week that they'd done a sort of in a marketplace or a couple marketplace, they'd done like 50 mystery shops, and they were just doing it to gather data. And it was honestly the response time on the good buildings, you would have given them a C, maybe, if you were grading them. There was nobody who was really getting on top of it. And, they looked at phone calls and they looked at email inquiries and those kinds of things. And I find myself wondering, and Mark, which is why chat I think is so critical, right? Is that it's a way to give instant response. Because how many people, I wonder, think, senior living's an option for me because I've got this crisis moment going on. And they go out and they look and nobody comes back, and the crisis sort of they get used to, and they just live in a less than life. So
yeah, absolutely. I think you made a great point there with the crisis mode, right? It's if you can have somebody there at all hours, things that are keeping them up at night, If you can put their mind at ease, give them that peace of mind and let them know, hey, we're with you in this process. Whether you end up coming to this community or not, you have a resource that you can come to that can really just work wonders to be able to help them in the process.
And you're building brand reputation in the community as well. They might not be the right fit, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And when a friend or neighbor needs a reference, you're going to be there. So
absolutely,
I would keep going I would serve them until there's nothing left to serve them with. So
absolutely.
Whether it's for you or not. All right, perfect. We're up on time again. Mark, thank you very much. If anybody wants to take their conversation offline with Mark, easy to do so. His recording will also be on the site if you want to watch it back. What else do we have? Steve, the gift card chat. So we'll see who won that. And then of course, rate Mark's, follow Steve's QR code and rate Mark's presentation so we can make Mark's presentation even better next time. We're always trying to improve. Up next, Terry Sullivan. And I love this title. Just because, Glenn and I also work in the behavioral health field. So the role of data and value-based selling is next. So that is very interesting to me. So we will see you in about 3 minutes with Terry. All right, everybody.